Welcome back. There's going to be people finding out I have a Blue Jays magnet. So, the Blue Jays came into this series against the Texas Rangers 7-2 in the month of September in the driver's seat. All they really needed to do was get a split. I mean, ideally you're at home. You'd like to win 3 out of 4 against Texas or 4 out of 4. Why not take them completely out of the race? Texas came in ready. Texas came in ready and absolutely spanked the Jays at home. It's it has to be frustrating for Jays fans because the scores go 10-4, 6-3, 10-0, and tonight 9-2. And I watched the whole game tonight. Yeah. Anyways, so I'll talk about that. But they're now 1.5 games behind the Mariners, who are 1 game back of the Rangers. The good news, if there's good news here, is that the Rangers and the Mariners play each other 7 times. So in the event that the Mariners handle the Rangers, or the Rangers handle the Mariners, and they don't have a split where one wins 4 and one wins 3, maybe we see whoever, dominates that series end up with a wildcard spot, but maybe it opens the door for the Jays to get in. The Jays need help. They absolutely need help, and the fact that those two teams are playing against each other 7 times is not the kind of help they need. And the Jays getting swept by Texas after sweeping the Royals, this is kind of a storyline. The Jays against good teams have had their struggles, right? The Jays against teams that aren't very good, they're very good at pegging off the wins against the teams they should. So they've got some games coming up now. This is their remaining schedule. They have 3 at home against Boston. They're 3-7 against Boston this year. They have to get that together. They have to win all 3. Ideally, they really do. They have to win all 3. Then they go to New York and play the Yankees for 3. They're 3-4 against the Yankees as well. Then they go to Tampa Bay for 3. They're 3-4 against the Rays, and Tampa is tough. So those are 3 divisional opponents, and then they come home, they play the Yankees for 3, and they close out the season with 2 against Tampa Bay. They do not have an opponent left that they have a winning record against this season. They're going to have to play over their heads. They're going to have to get it together. And it definitely seemed to me like, first off, I don't want to take too much away from Texas here. The thing that stood out to me tonight was that they forced the Jays starter to throw 25 pitches in the first inning. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, that is really, really smart. It's something that I watch when I'm watching baseball games. Like, okay, how many pitches is it taking the pitcher to get through the lineup? It's not just a matter of how many batters and how many innings. It's how many pitches is it taking per inning. So if a team's getting shut out, but they force the pitcher to throw 20 pitches each inning, well, they're going to wear them down, right? In today's game, you're going to wear them down. Pitchers are not left in games that long. And if you get a guy up to, say, 65, 70 pitches after 3 innings, he's not going to be there very long. And so even if he's having a good game, you're forcing him to throw a lot of pitches. And so when I saw Texas doing that, I thought this could be a long game. And that's even though after the first inning, the score was 2-1 in favor of the Jays with the 2-run home run by Vladdy. Only his 22nd home run of the season. I say only because I think more is expected. The 86 runs batted in are good, but again, they need more, and they're not getting it. Bichette, of course, coming back from injury. I don't think you can expect a lot with Bichette, but they're just not getting it. They only got 4 hits all night, and 2 of those are in the first inning. So they were 3-10 against the Orioles this year. I put that on the board because that is a big part of their problem. One thing that stood out to me when I've been watching, and I've been watching the standings and seeing where the Jays are at, because it's always interesting when the Jays are in the playoffs. All of Canada pays attention. It's the only team in Canada, right? That's why I'm doing a Blue Jays video. But their record overall of 80-67 isn't bad, but they're 12-25 against their division, and that's the tiebreaker. So if they're tied with Seattle, that doesn't do them any good because Seattle has a better record within their division. And so this is just they've shot themselves in the foot. They're 1-6 now against Texas on the season, so that hurts. And again, they don't have a great record against the good teams. They've basically helped the Orioles to end up atop the division, right? If they're 10-3 against the Orioles, we're having a whole different conversation. If they can beat the Orioles, if they weren't 3-7 against the Sox, if they're 7-3, that's an extra 4 wins. This is a team that's still in a playoff spot, even with that 4 straight losses to the Texas Rangers. So they don't have a tiebreaker with anybody ahead of them. They're now 2 games back of the Rangers. They're 2.5 games back of the Rangers. It doesn't matter. They're not catching the Rangers. It's not happening. So, because I heard the math on TV and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So they're 1.5 back of the Mariners, and the Mariners are 1 game back of the Rangers, which means that for Toronto, by my count, they're 2.5 games back of the Rangers. Not that it matters. Like I said, they don't have a lot of games left. They're against teams they've struggled against this season. They need the wins. They have to get the wins now. The combined score of 35-9 for Texas, that is the worst run differential in a 4-game series in Toronto Blue Jays history. So it can't get much worse than this. And this is why, like, baseball can just be killer that way. It is such a long schedule. And you put in, 5-6 months of your life. You're like, this team, everything's looking good. And one series like this can just submarine the whole thing. One bad series can just take the whole season out. So the Toronto Blue Jays have some work ahead of them. I get the feeling that there's not a lot of confidence there. You look at body language with baseball. Body language is huge in baseball, and they just look like a defeated team. And this is a problem. And I talked last year. Remember last year the Jays fired their manager, and there was a lot of talk about the manager being the problem. I'm not saying the manager was the problem, but I haven't been convinced the team is necessarily built to win the big games. And this year, their record against their own division tells you this is a problem. You can't be 12-25 against your division. You can't be if you want to make the playoffs. The fact that they're 80-67 with a record in their division of 12-25 is insane. But that record is going to take a bit of a beating. So I could see them ending up with, say, 85 wins. I could see them winning 5 games from here. And that would absolutely not get them near the playoffs. And then the question becomes one of what happens next? What's next for the Blue Jays coming out of this? What do you do? So let me just do a double check. Actually, I think I've got that record a little bit more positive than what it is. I'll just pause, take 2 seconds. I knew I had my math off. I had missed that the last game is on October 1st against Tampa Bay. So they have 3 against Tampa. So that's 15 games remaining against teams that they've got a combined record of 9-15 against. So 5-10, 6-9, maybe 7-8. If they can go and win all their home games, which would be 9, that'd be 3 against the Yankees, 3 against Tampa, and 3 against Boston, maybe. But they have to win in New York, they have to win in Tampa. And again, they need help. They need either the Rangers to kill the Mariners or the Mariners to kill the Rangers in order for them to get themselves up into a position where they can challenge for a wild card. It is remarkable, though. We got 15 games left, and it feels like the Jays season, they really needed wins against Texas. They needed a split, and they didn't get it. They get booed off the field for 2 straight games. Let me know your thoughts. If you booed them off the field, let me know why. And again, I don't think the Jays would be overly upset with fans booing them off the field when they're beaten by a combined score of 19-2 in their last 2 games, and the 2 before that they were beaten 16-7. So the series just got worse as it went along, and now here comes the Boston Red Sox, who, whether they're good or they're not good, Boston's still in a position to play spoiler against the Jays, and so we'll see how that goes for them. And of course, you know, I don't think the Red Sox or the Yankees are mathematically out of it. So until you're mathematically out of it, and again, you play till the end of the season. So what do you think? What do you think, Jays fans? Do you think they've got a chance, or do you think they're done? And how do they fix this? One thing I've always said with the Jays, they either get pitching or they get hitting. In this series, it was kind of neither. They didn't get the hits when they needed them. I agree with Buck Martinez in tonight's game too. He did specify, and I agree with him, that it's tougher for the pitchers when you're not getting run support. It does force you to maybe try to paint the corners a little bit, try to, you're trying desperately to get those strikeouts because you're not getting those runs that you need to support you. And so it could make it worse for pitchers, right? But let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and yeah, there you go. My giant magnet for the Toronto Blue Jays comes to use here. But let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.